Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are here in SS2-5. I'll do a little zoom out here, right? We have TM, I believe UDF, and then we have GG83 and GG13 who are fighting it out. Again, sadly, I am about 20 minutes late, as I had a little bit of some stuff to do before, even though, thankfully, Violator and a few others were following up with me, so I do appreciate always any reach out. You can see here, right, there's about 40 minutes left in Runic. Right, you got GG13 and 83 hanging out, gaining points. TM, and I think UDF, who's there too as well, right? They have basically been, or were at one point, pushed back, it seems, to their level 1 pass, which we just witnessed. Now it looks like they're making some traction happening here, coming in from the east side, or east pass. Curious on... Okay, so they're actually attacking the dwarf. I think those are the dwarves that are spawning now. Yeah. So they just spawned. Now you're going to get another emerge from the Dwarven Guardians that they're fighting off. This actually could be an opportunity for TM and UDF to actually go in now to the Runic Statue Zone, just because, again, the GG83 and 13 players are a bit occupied, unless they've maybe already killed off all. I actually thought they'd be spawning a little bit more than that. Maybe the level increase goes up again. I haven't done Runic before, but that seems as though they cleared that very well. Maybe it was just general because they just had so much activity there, regardless if the dwarves scale or not, where as each kind of wave, they'll either go up in difficulty or more will spawn, or if it's just a kind of a flat spawning rate every single time. However, obviously they made quick work of that with the amount of activity that is there. But however, it did allow for TM to fight out. Now, this is actually, I would say, not an ideal situation to fight in. Why am I saying this is not an ideal situation to fight in? Well, because you have what I would consider to be a very, and we're going to show this off as well, right? Let's go, if I full screen this a bit. You have a very thin choke here, and you have the players that are a lot wider here. So they can arguably attack you from multiple angles, where you have to basically sit into this tiny little kill box, if you will, and then they're just kind of raining down, right? So there's not as much space here to where you could really spread out in a way that is going to allow for you to get a little bit more favorable matchups. Now, in this situation, this is kind of a reverse situation now. However, TM could be filling in this northern part here where you see not going and where TMTA is up here with Lilia, right? You could be going up here and spreading out a little bit more where you're kind of arcing. And then that way you do your arc like that, and then you just psh, 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 right? Now you're doing it in a little bit more of a tactical way to try and get a little bit more of some value there from your range, from your AoE, and then, of course, being able to take less damage as well overall. I wonder if they're trying to attack on the west side. West side? Because that could have been something as well. Dude, I like how the TM guy is pulling the Stubborn Guardian. That is so funny. But, oh, it looks like the aggro went off. But this could be something, right? If they had enough activity, they could go ahead and attack from both sides, right? To me, that actually would be something to do. So you can see up here, right, there's 4 paths, right, on the west and the east side. I feel like, and again, bear in mind, we're 20 plus minutes in. Maybe the activity was a little bit better right in the first 15 minutes than it is now. Also keep in mind that it is just TM. I think that's also really important to state, is that it's them going up against GG83 and 13 with UDF. And if I have to zoom out for a sec here, or just move over to show you, right? So TM is here at 6.8. GG83 is obviously closer to TA in power, right? So there's about a 1.5 billion difference. And then you also have GG13, which is only 1 billion less, right? So if you look at this, you're, what, plus 7 billion over them, almost? And then UDF is at 3.4. So if you're comparing GG13 to 3.4, I mean, they're 2.4 billion more, and then you have about 1.5 billion more on that side. So, I mean, again, if you're going off power, then there obviously is an advantage on the GG83 and 1.3 side. However, even if you are at a disadvantage, I still would like to see, and I think that is safe to say, I would like to at least see good tactics, good strategy being implemented, just to try and give yourself the best chance to even just attempt for kind of breaking even trades, right? When you're at a numbers disadvantage potentially, and that obviously is, I would say, a case or a situation here for what's playing out. But regardless, still big props for TM and UDF for showing up, right? Because it could be easy to say, well, look, the matchup isn't too favorable, but the fact that they're showing up, because again, I mean, people do want PvP at the end of the day. People want to get their merits, and why not enjoy having some PvP battles here? My thing, like I've stated as well before, is that I like the idea of the Runic area. I just feel like it should at least be 2 times bigger. I've said like 2 to 3 times bigger, just so it's wider. Some of the choke points are a little wider too as well. Would be nice. So the layers are wider. Because obviously if you have a lot of activity where you're having 2 alliances, or we should say up to 2 alliances, depending if there's a union or not, that are going into the zone, then you could have, like what we saw with TFS, TNS, and then it was TDR, right? And I can't remember now. I'm blanking right now. And I bet you I probably messed up one of the pairings. But when we did that, I'll just say this. When we showed off that fight, there was a lot of activity. There was a lot of players online for that. And very similar, I think, right? Obviously, keep in mind, GG83 and 1.3, they're just hanging out here, right? And then there's just a small force that is essentially fighting it out with TM and some UDF players right now. So it's not as though you're seeing what that would look like if, at least at the moment, if you were filling out an entire valley, right, on the right or the left side for that. So just, again, kind of something to keep in mind. However, always happy to see and watch some PvP. I'm always going to be ecstatic about that. Again, man, I love the PvP in CoD, right? If we're just kind of talking at its core, its general foundation for what it is, the standard, I should say the ceiling potential, right, for PvP in CoD is still so extremely high. And as I often say, I'm never going to get enough of being able to watch, the true ranged PvP that I love so much, especially when you have this kind of open field free troop movement. The timing out your artifact skills, but all those things are always going to be so enjoyable to me to watch. Okay, this actually isn't that bad. I like how TM at least is going in the same direction. Right, we can kind of see. Now, one of the things I would have actually liked to see in here is maybe them hold their ground a little bit more to where, right, and basically force GG83 and 13, because really one of their best opportunities would be to, like, keep them funneled in this thin choke, right, and just kind of hold ground here, and then just, let a barrage of artifact skills, focus your AoE damage, right, centralize, because now, the more you let them out, the kind of less of the advantage you may have, at least when it comes to the opportunity of dealing as much damage as you can, or having a higher chance of doing so, right, in that choke point or in that kind of kill box area, versus when you let them out. There we go, man. What are we seeing? I think we're seeing some entangling flames. I think we saw... Oh, look at that wolf shadow there from DGen. Let's see what we're running. So we got some Theas, we got some Atheist Theas, we got some Lilias, got some Syndrians. There's probably Syndrian Fragor. We got some Kanaras there. I saw at least one. On the other side, oh, it looks like a Goresh Skogul there from Go. Shout out to our boy Ghost. Let me see. We got Nico, a lot of Lilias. Looks like a Hosk, maybe Madeline. if that could be right. There's a Craig out there. My man, Craig Thea. Put that work in. Looks like some Velns that we're seeing too as well. There we go. What is... Why am I forgetting that person's name? Ferrandril. There we go. Ferrandril and Theodore. Sorry, not that he's running Theodore there. Just I was... Alright. TM now getting a little bit more of a counter push happening. Look at how the Emrys, dude. There's the Emrys is just running. Dude, are they... I'm curious for the reason on aggro pulling, and maybe someone could tell. What's the reason for aggro pulling the Guardians? Here, are you... maybe this was just an accident, right? Maybe it just happened, right? Maybe that didn't happen on purpose. Maybe the Guardians spawned, and then it just ended up pulling that way when they engaged. However, now TM and UDF getting a little bit of a counter push here, hitting that Shadow Games, doing a little bit of damage there. Cheer of Arbin getting thrown down right now for some quick heal. This actually was okay. I personally would have liked for them to throw the tier a little farther back because they were only able to get 3 pox out of 4, it looked like. Let me see here. Looks like... Oh, interesting. So, and I'm curious, right? Maybe if they did, in fact, if there was a decision to pull the Guardians out so they would attack the TM players, I wonder if that was a thing or if it just so happened that way, right? Is there like a player over here that's pulling them? Oh, no, there's not. There's just... Oh, see, interesting. I didn't realize that the Guardians spawned outside. I thought they only spawned in the ring. So that... Okay. Interesting. Again, unless my eyes are deceiving me. Unless my eyes are deceiving me. But if they do spawn outside the ring, which, I mean, this maybe feels like that could be on purpose. And there is some consistency. If you go around the ring, they're kind of at, you know, their clock position. So, yeah, maybe it is a thing. Clearly, you can tell that I don't do a lot of Runic fights. Well, really just PvP in general for my current city level. Though it is always fun to watch. And for me, it's always a great learning experience, too, as well, right? When we get a chance to kind of look at how... Well, and again, Runic has been out for a while. But still, it's enjoyable to be able to watch. Okay, so TM coming back now. The interesting thing for me is I wonder, like, are they in voice? Is there, you know, what is the level? Like, I know GG is communicating because I'm in their Discord. So, you know, I can see right now they have 20 people on voice in this fight. Now, that, I don't know if I don't know what that split is, right, between GG83 and 13, but I could see they have 20 people on voice right now, right? And to be honest, like, that's one of the reasons I like getting into the Alliance Discords, because when we do these commentaries, I can give you a lot of those real-time stats. I can go and take a quick look at the TMTA Discord, and I can see and say, man, they got 30 or 40 people in voice. Or, you know, like TFS when they were doing the I think they were doing the Elite Bear. They were trying to do the Elite Bear last night, and then they attempted, I thought it was the Elite Giant as well, and they had, I think, almost 50 people in their voice, in their VC. You know, like, that to me, I love seeing that, because that's where you can add a layer of storytelling and context to, you know, if you're seeing certain things that are happening on the field that might feel or appear to be more organized, more structured, more well put together, those are things that you could speak to, where it's like, hey, well, this is one of the reasons why that is factoring in, why that's playing out the way you're seeing it. And I love that. You know, because otherwise everyone just kind of has this, you know, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but it would be easy just to say, oh, well, you know, they just got lucky, right? Or it's just playing out that way. Or maybe they're just doing everything via text and just, like, you know, over micromanaging and, you know, like speedily or typing with the, you know, the speed of a comet, right? Which, again, could be, you know, potentially, but I'd like to believe the VC helps out a lot in that regard. King Vegeta trying to put some work in there with the flying units. So the flying unit thing for me isn't bad. However, if you're going to have a flying group, I wouldn't be using the flying group to attack the main force. I'd be using the flying group to pick off the stragglers, right? So going over here after Berg and like Reto and Tan, right? So what you would do is you'd position this way, right? Or going after the players here. Like, if they're attacking Guardians like this, or like TMTA, right? Oh, sorry, this is a TM player. But let's imagine if this was not a TM player, when you're going after the stragglers, or you're lining yourself up here with Berg. And I'll give you a really good example on how this one would play out. So, idea would be if Berg's here, right? You don't attack from here because the distance is shorter. You attack where the distance is longest and farthest away from players. So you would attack from here, or we'll give a circle, and then you're attacking like this. Why? Because now the distance from this unit to you is a lot longer, right? And again, this is just like basic tactics and setup when you're trying to poke and kind of pick off opponents in this way. Just to give, hopefully that helps. If people enjoyed that description there. But I do like how now some of the TM players, right, there's our boy Timmy. But I do like how some of the players are branching out, right? You got 2 TM players over here that are trying to flank. However, the thing for me is, right, don't put yourself in a position where you're after unfavorable matchups. Look for favorable matchups. Right? And if you don't have those, then retreat. Right? Bait them into the fight, right? Then you counterattack with numbers. I mean, there's multiple ways that you can play this out. But I will say this, man. I mean, they're going at it, man. Even though GG13 and 83 have, you know, obviously more overwhelming activity at the moment. And again, bear in mind, that's mainly just because, like, their power is a little bit more than UDF's. So that's not to say that always immediately translates to higher average activity, but it does play a factor. You know, if you have an alliance that is at 1 billion power and you have 150 players in there versus an alliance that's at 6 billion power with 150 players in there, sure, they're stronger, but you'd like to believe that that higher alliance at the same member capacity probably has higher average activity, right? Because of that, because typically if they're leveling their accounts more, right, they're constantly growing in power, right? But also, and this should be stated, not everyone may be available at this specific time, right? Not everyone's going to be available at 15 UTC. So, you know, that I would imagine is a factor as well, right? Because every alliance is going to have their peak times, if you will, right? If you got 150 players, and for the most part, maybe, you know, in most alliances, usually there's a majority, and that majority could be from EU, they could be from NA, they could be from Asia regions and time zones. It just depends, right? And, you know, thankfully, at least, and I don't know how it is I'd have to look in the rest of the world, and maybe ours is a little bit wider, but I know in the US I can say, you know, you basically have a 3-hour time difference window, right? If you're comparing from Pacific Standard to Eastern, right? So you have Pacific, Mountain Central, and then Eastern. But there's a 3-hour window, right? So, you know, for me as an example, it's 10:36 in the morning, but on the West Coast, it's 7:36. So I know that 3-hour window is small, that basically covers the entire country. And that's something where if I know that the majority of players are from NA, right, at least depending on the time that events are, like for example, 15 UTC, right, that's 10 a.m. on a weekday, right? That's 7 a.m. for those on the West Coast. You could maybe make an argument that the people on the West Coast, if not maybe Mountain Time, have a little bit higher of a chance to get online for this fight versus those that are Central, potentially, and maybe even more Eastern, right, East Coast, right, because they might already be at work. So those are things that you have to factor in, right, when you're thinking about, you know, where you're setting times. One of the other things, and again, I'm not sure how exactly the statue times are done when it comes to, is it the same time every day? Will that time change? I could probably actually look at a sheet that someone sent me. Hang on, now that I think about it, because someone sent me a sheet here about, let me open this bad boy real quick. Let me see. Someone sent me a schedule sheet for some fights, and here it is. I think these are, oh, hang on, so I'm sorry. These are not, this is just friendly fights. This is not one. I thought this was like the statue timings for all the fights, as an example. That would have been cool, as well, now that I'm thinking about it. But where I'm going with this is that if you're going to do statue fights, what would be cool is if you at least are aiming for a 24 or 48 hour downtime, then it'd be awesome where if they do a fight now at 15 UTC, then in 2 days from now, they'll do a fight 6 hours later, right? Or 8 hours later, right? So it's like if you do one fight at example reset, then you do another fight at 8 UTC, right? So like if you did, so like if the very first statue in your kingdom was at 0 UTC, then you'd wait 2 days, and then 2 days from now at 8 UTC, the next fight would be. And then 2 days from now at 16 UTC, the next fight would be. And then at 2 days from now at reset, again at 0 UTC, the next fight will be, right? So you have 3 different times that you're operating on, which is giving players an opportunity to fight during their peak times. That, and again, if that's kind of already being done, awesome. But that to me would be an ideal way where players don't necessarily feel as though they're kind of, ostracized for, that might not actually be the right word, where they're unable to engage and enjoy this aspect of the Runic statue zone and this event, because maybe the time is always at the same, well, sorry, I should say when the event starts, it's always at the same time, or it's very close to that. And that can be challenging where if you know that's going to happen, what happens if you're going up against a matchup where that's just not your peak time? Like you have good activity overall in your alliance, but that's not your peak time. So you're just not going to be able to, you're always going to have like an uphill battle compared to if they allow you to play at different times and it just rotates like that. That can be a lot more appealing. Now you could argue every 6 hours, every 8 hours. I think something within that range is okay, because it gives everyone an opportunity to play at their peak time, right? And I think that is really what you're looking for, that level of inclusion and diversity when it comes to time availability that's convenient, right, for all alliances, whether that's at the same time or at different times because you are rotating on a schedule. Curious what you guys think about that. And again, let me know, right? Maybe statue operates like that already, and I'm just not aware. Not bad. I mean, you can even see like the points up here too as well. Yeah, I mean that's just it's a lot of numbers, I mean, look at the title layering here. There's gonna be a lot right there. I like how TM and UDF decided, hey, we're gonna split up a little bit and just try and fight on 2 fronts. This actually isn't a bad idea. The only challenge with this is that even though the idea on paper is good, given that they have a lot more activity than you do, if you get pushed out of the bottom, then the top is going to get flanked, right? If the reinforcements here comes in heavy on the top, then you're going to get flanked on that side as well, where the bottom isn't really able to assist. These are things you have to think about. If you have enough activity, then obviously this becomes a little bit more viable, right? Or if you're just timing it out. Right, like if you know that, hey, we're not going to be able to stay up here on this top choke for that long on the east side. Once we start noticing reinforcements are coming, then we'll back out. We'll just do as much damage, right? Again, if you have the micro capabilities to do those things in real time, then yeah, I'm all for it, right? Show me the goods. That's what Daddy likes to see. And it kind of looks like that's what they're doing right now. I mean, kind of what we just said. It looks like what they're doing. They really haven't lost a lot from that engagement. It looks like they disengage at an appropriate time. So, hey, man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Yeah. I mean, if you just see how many people they have outside of their gate, and then I think how many people are outside the other gate. Let's see. I mean, again, it's still good activity. It's not bad. Right, based on the power level and then maybe the time, right, that we're having right now. It just, it's like we said, it's very clear that GG83 and 13 just have more activity and potentially more overall power maybe on the field right now. And see, this and this is the thing, right, where it's kind of happening now. You're kind of getting flanked, or not. Well, I mean, you were maybe slightly getting flanked, but basically you're fighting 2 fronts, right, with a little bit lower activity. In this case, it may almost be better to kind of fall back a little bit, try to fight here on this one, and then just like pull the group down more. Or you might just have to say, look, we're not going to be able to hold the south choke, right? Then what you'll do is you'll back out and kind of fight them maybe. It's rough. I mean, I guess this actually isn't the worst thing, right? Because you're only fighting a few people here, and if you can kind of still hold them here in this choke for as long as possible, you still have this opportunity to do more damage output than that they could potentially inflict on you. However, if they just like layered 30, 40, 50 people here in the choke, it may not necessarily make that much of a difference, because even though they're in a position to take more damage, if you don't have that damage output there outside of the choke, then, you know, again, I don't want to say it's a moot point or a moot situation, but it's not. You're just not going to be able to generate and get the type of results that you might be hoping for. Oh, there's Megalodon. What's up, man? I think I saw Wayne out there too as well, man. Shout out to Wayne. Yo, where's my boy Blink 182? All right. Well, I think we might be calling it. What am I at? 26 minutes? Yeah, like I said, I wish I would have been able to get in the very beginning, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think this is where I will leave you, and we'll end it out. Let me know what you guys think about the Runic fights, right? Would you guys like to see more of these if we know that there's going to be a lot of activity for Runic fights around the S2 and S2 Plus KVK groups? I'd love to obviously get as much as I can. And obviously, like we said in the beginning, man, shout out to Violator and a few others for reaching out to me and letting me know about the fight going on. Wish, like I said, I could have been here in the beginning. But again, hopefully we'll be able to get more of these in the future. With that in mind, that is going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.